Hi, I'm Carlin.
Hi, I'm Scott.
We're going to talk to you today just a little bit about Academy Analytics. Academy Analytics was created in conjunction with the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch, Priority Dispatch, and First Watch. Your data simultaneously is fed to the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch for research purposes, as well as to First Watch so that we can populate your Academy Analytics dashboard. Scott, do you want to take us to the live site?
Sure, Carlin. So this is the landing page or dashboard of Academy Analytics. Academy Analytics offers a dashboard as well as various other links to help you find information you need with regard to your ProQA data.
Scott, one of the things I really like is that this ProQA data is in near real time. So at the glance at a dashboard, you can kind of tell how your agency is performing at any given point.
Yeah, that's right, Carlin. It provides it near real time, so you don't have to worry about what happened 3 months ago and trying to fix something that happened so far in the past. You can see what's going on pretty much right now on your system. First Watch has partnered with WalkMe to offer walkthroughs of the various components of the Academy Analytics screens. So by hovering over this little question mark here, I can see what this widget shows, and it provides a link to have me walk through the entire dashboard and each one of the widgets, where it goes into more detail as to what each widget does and what information it can provide for you.
Super convenient.
Also, this question mark up at the top will walk you through some of the most common pages in the Academy Analytics system. We'll be adding more as time goes on, but these are the ones that we have now that can help you understand what that page is and how to get there.
So now let's take a look at our dashboard. Right here, we're seeing widgets that pertain to anything that's happening within the last 12 hours. I have the ability to change that to last 8 hours, up to last 48 hours, or you can set the custom date range. Here, if you see these little question marks, this gives us the opportunity to learn more about the dashboard. If you don't want to learn that, you want to come back to it later, you can just click on the X and get out of it. Also, there's a big question mark up here giving you the ability to select exactly where within Academy Analytics you might need additional help. Let's take a look at this first widget within the dashboard. Right here, we're looking at the number of cases the telecommunicators have handled. So for this agency, within the last 12 hours, they've handled 70 cases. I have the functionality to be able to toggle on or toggle off. So if I'm really concerned about my telecommunicators aborting calls, I can just go ahead and toggle off the completed calls, and it will show me the calls that have been aborted. Here I can see that JC has aborted 2 calls within the last 12 hours. Probably nothing to get too concerned about, but let's just say this is something I'm watching. I can double click on the bar and it will bring up those 2 incidents that were aborted. I can then double click on the case number and it will take me to the ProQA drill down information so I can see that data without even having to leave Academy Analytics. Another thing you'll notice are these 3 ellipses up in the top right corner. If I click on here, it will give me the ability to expand this widget, to export it as a PDF or a PNG. I can change it to a bar chart, a line chart, or leave it as a column chart. Again, I can toggle back on those completed cases. Let's move over to the next widget showing the average call taking time and time to reach a dispatch point within ProQA. You can see that the agency on average is spending 3 minutes and 8 seconds in the call taking portion and 1 minute and 34 seconds average to reach a dispatch point. Here, again, I have the ability to toggle on and toggle off if I just want to see our dispatching time or time to reach a dispatch point. I can toggle off the average call processing time and vice versa. Again, having the functionality to be able to double click and bring those incidents up as needed. Scott, anything you want to add on those two widgets?
Just with regard to the time to reach a dispatch point, please keep in mind that we do not pull in CAD data. So this is just strictly the time to reach a dispatch point in ProQA and not when the actual incident was dispatched in your particular CAD system.
Perfect, thank you. Let's take a look now at our distribution level breakdown. Here we have a pie chart showing just what it says, the distribution level breakdown. If I want to take out my aborted calls, I have the ability to do that. But one thing I want you to be aware of is that it will always reflect the accurate number of calls. So 26.1% were alpha level calls, even though the pie chart is showing 100%. We want to keep that data integrity in there. Over here, we're looking at outlier cases. So anytime that it took longer than 2 minutes to reach a dispatch point within ProQA. Down here on the last widget, we're looking at the last 5 cases handled by your telecommunicators. Here you can hover over to see the time in case entry, time in key questions, time in pre-arrivals, and as well, time in post-dispatch instructions. One other important feature I'd like to point out is this megaphone. If you click on the megaphone, it will bring up any new releases within Academy Analytics since the last time that you opened Academy Analytics. Now we can see there's no new information to show. Scott, I think that's about it for the dashboard. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you did a great job. Thanks, Carlin.
Thank you. Hi, Carlin and Scott here. We're ready to talk about the time series tab within Academy Analytics. With our time series, you can see we're looking at the time in the problem field, or, okay, tell me exactly what happened. Again, capturing your time in case entry, time in key questions, pre-arrival time, post-dispatch instruction time, total time spent within ProQA, and your call volume by month. Right here, you can see that our date range has changed. And because I'm only looking at one day, it's going to look a little weird on my call volume by month. So let's go ahead, add a few more months in just to give you a better look at that. So now if I come down here, you can see my call volume by month. Here's July, August, September, and then a smaller call volume for October since we're just starting out the month. Here's our call volume by day of week. Again, remember you have the ability to expand any of these charts, export them as a PDF or PNG, change it to a bar chart, a line chart, or a column chart, or you can group by month, week, day, day of week, or hour of day. Another thing that I wanted to remind you that you have the ability to do is by selecting any of these data points, you can double click and this will show us all 788 incidents that make that up. Again, if there's an incident that I want to see a little bit more detail for, I can double click on it and it will bring up the ProQA drill down with further information contained. Scott, anything else?
Just to point out that there's a little bit of a difference in the time slices for the time and key questions that are 10-second time slices instead of 5, and then the total time in ProQA that are 20-second time slices, just because those tend to have a greater length of time in general. So those time slices are a little bit better if you're comparing the charts one with another.
Perfect. Thanks for pointing that out, Scott.
Hi, Scott and Carlin here again with you. Today we're going to be going over the Time Trend tab in Academy Analytics. Time Trend is a little bit different than the Time Series tab in that it is a trend over time. So instead of giving you a count of calls that occurred within a particular time slice, this gives you the average of a particular day and what that average problem time was, or what that average time was. So here we're in the average problem time by month, and this is again the field in ProQA where it's tell me exactly what happened. And so I can see here that the average time for August was 17 seconds, September went down to 16 seconds, and so far in October, it's back up to 17 seconds. So this gives you an idea of over time how you're doing on each one of the components in ProQA. The next widget is the average case entry time by month, followed by the time and key questions by month, the pre-arrival instructions time, post-dispatch instructions time, and then the total time in ProQA. And because these are all by month, they can be grouped by a different time frame. So if you want to use week or day of week, you can certainly do that for each one of these time charts to see the average within that time period. Anything you'd like to add, Carlin?
No, I think that about covers it. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Hey, Carlin and Scott here. Today we're going to cover final dispatch within Academy Analytics. So under the final dispatch tab, you can see that we're looking at the count of each Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Omega, and aborted calls. Here you can see we're looking at the top 10 final chief complaints. Watch those card 26s, as this kind of ends up being one of my pet peeves. As we all know, card 26 is only to be used anytime there is not a more categorizable chief complaint. So we might want to keep an eye on those to make sure that we're not getting that as a catch-all. Top 10 final dispatch codes are displayed here. Here are the frequency of aborted calls, so you can double click within that gray slice. It'll bring up all of your aborted calls, showing the problem, the reason, everything across the top. And then down here, we have our final dispatch level by hour. Again, you can toggle on and toggle off. So if I just want to see when I'm having my echo level calls most frequently, I can just show the echo level calls and see that on the 7th, or in the 7 o'clock hour, we've handled 15 echo level calls. Put these back in. Over here, we're looking at our frequency of reconfigured calls. Here you can see that 8% of the calls handled between the 1st of July and the 7th of October were reconfigured. Scott, anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so. Thanks, Carlin.
You betcha.
Hi, Scott and Carlin here. Today we're going to be going over the call volume tab in Academy Analytics. Call volume is one of the sub-tabs of the summary tab. So the call volume gives you an idea of what your call volume is per month. And again, because this is a by month, you can certainly change the group by to either week, day, day of week, or hour of day, depending on what you need. And this shows the number of calls for each discipline. So I can see here EMS, police, fire, and then the total. It looks like this agency isn't using police. So just like with the other widgets, if I wanted to remove that, all I'd have to do is click on police down in the legend, and it removes it from the chart completely. I can also click on any one of these data points to see the number of calls that make up that data point, or to see the calls. So in this one, there's 120 fire calls so far for October. I can click on that to bring up the list of those 120 calls. I can also, just as with all the rest of our widgets, drill down further into each one of the calls by clicking on it, and I can see the various data about that particular call. The next widget is the call volume by hour of day and day of week. And this is just a heat chart to show when your busiest times are. So I can see here very quickly, very easily that on noon on Tuesday and at 5 o'clock p.m. on Saturday tend to be my busiest times, with 73 on Saturday and 76 at noon on Tuesday, just by taking a glance. So this kind of helps me get an idea as to what the call volume is like on my system for particular days of the week and hours of day within the date range that I have selected up here at the top. Anything that I forgot or that you would like to add, Carlin?
I think you got it. Thanks, Scott.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, Scott and Carlin here. Let's talk a little bit about the aborted calls tab within Academy Analytics. Here you can see the dispatchers listed across the bottom, as well as the number of times that they have aborted calls. Over here, we have our top 10 aborted reasons. Here's patient refused service, non-medical call, and etc. on down the line. Here's your number of aborted calls by month, showing July, August, September, October, again giving you the functionality to be able to double click within that bar to bring each of those incidents up. Here's those aborted calls showing the telecommunicator, the problem, the abort reason, and so on. Anything you'd like to add about aborted calls, Scott?
No, I don't think so. Thanks, Carlin.
You bet.
Hi, Scott and Carlin here again. Today we're going to be going over the Telecommunicator tab in Academy Analytics. The Telecommunicator tab is intended to break down calls and information about calls by each individual telecommunicator. So I can see here that this telecommunicator has handled 10 cases. They've handled, or their average call processing time is 1 minute 58 seconds, and the average time to dispatch is 1 minute and 18 seconds. I can also see how that telecommunicator ranks with the rest of the system. So this dark blue line here is the system as a whole, and this light blue line is this particular telecommunicator. I can also get an idea for how frequently they're reconfiguring calls, aborting calls, and what their distribution of determinant levels is. So if I have a particular telecommunicator that seems to have a disproportionate number of calls that are either in the Bravo or Charlie, this will show it here so that I can perhaps get more training to that telecommunicator, or at least do a deeper dive into why that might be. The last widget is the protocols breakdown. And this shows each one of the protocols, the number of calls that that telecommunicator has had within this time frame, the percentage of calls that that represents, the number of calls on the system or on my system as a whole, and what percentage that makes up on my system, and then what the all systems percentage is. So the all systems percentage is all customers that use ProQA. So I can see here that for abdominal pains, that accounts for 1.72% of my call volume, whereas on average for all of the users of Academy Analytics, it represents 2.23%. And this particular telecommunicator in the last 2 months hasn't had any of those types of calls. I can also drill down and see each one of the protocols. And again, I can get a system count, system percentage, and all systems percentage for each one of the protocols or each one of the calls in that type of protocol. I can also, if I would like, I can just take and grab a column to move it around if I don't like where it's placed. Or I can click on the ellipses of each column and I can sort that column by ascending, descending. I can also remove columns. For example, if I don't want to show the all systems percentage, I can uncheck that and it will remove it from the chart. And lastly, I can filter. So I can see here where it's equal to, not equal to, etc. I can put in the value, the qualifier, and the equal value, and then filter it. Anything that you would like to add, Carlin?
Maybe just the functionality to export to Excel.
Oh, absolutely. You can also export this list to Excel so that you can create even more charts or go even more granular into the data about your system.
Perfect. What a great tool. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Carlin.
Hi, it's Carlin and Scott. We're here to talk to you about the Protocol Summary tab within Academy Analytics. Right here in this widget, you can see the top 10 final protocols. 6 is leading the way, and 12 is showing a little bit less involvement. Here we have the top 10 final dispatch codes. Right here, we're able to see the gender of the individual, the party of caller, and the distribution determinant levels. Here we have a matrix called our protocols breakdown. You have the ability to export this matrix to Excel in its native format. Let's take a look at what each of these means. So with protocol, it's listing each of the individual protocols, the count or the number of times the agency has used that protocol within this date range, the percentage of calls that make up that protocol, as well as all system percentage, which is showing all systems using Academy Analytics. So if I click on this arrow, it will also show me the subdeterminant levels within that protocol with the breakdowns as previously noted. Here, one of the things that I like to do is come down to our 26 protocol, click on the subdeterminants and see how we are comparing to all systems within that. And if you want to make it a little bit less busy and just look at the 26 protocol overall, you can see that agencies within Academy Analytics are using that 11.24% of the time. This agency is at 11.5. And you can just determine if that is an acceptable range for your agency, or if it's something you might want to do a little bit of continuing dispatch education on. Here, within these columns, you also have the ability to sort ascending, sort descending with columns. If there's a column that you're not particularly interested in, you can remove that or add it back in. Then you also have some filter capabilities to show items that are equal to. You can also change that to not equal to and all of those operators. You can add another and or, and you can apply those filters. Scott, did I miss anything on this one?
I don't think so. Thanks, Carlin.
You bet. Thank you.
Hi, Scott and Carlin here. Today we're going to be going over the Specialty Protocols tab in Academy Analytics. The specialty protocols are broken down into two separate protocols that we deep dive to get more information on. The first one is cardiac or respiratory arrest, also known as CARD 9. And the second one is the pandemic epidemic outbreak, also known as CARD 36. So first we'll go over the cardiac or respiratory arrest. So I can see here in this 2-month time period, the number of cases on my system is 106. The average call processing time for those cases is 5 minutes and 18 seconds, and the average time to dispatch is 1 minute and 6 seconds. I also get a breakdown into the gender, the party, and the distribution of determinant levels. And again, these are only for applicable for CARD 9. So this isn't against all cards on my system. This is just on that cardiac respiratory arrest. I then have a breakdown for all of the determinants that have occurred in my system within this time frame. So I can see the count of each one. I can see the number of 9 Bravo 1s, 9 Delta 1s, etc. on my system, what percentage that is, and then the all systems percentage. And again, the all systems percentage is all customers that are using Academy Analytics, what that represents on their system. I can then also get a time to hands-on chest by month. And because this is a by month, I can also break that down into by week, by day, hour of day, and day of week. I can also click on each one of these to bring up the calls that actually made that data point. I can also click on it and drill down even further into each particular call. I also have a percentage of hands-on chest by month, a call volume by month. Anything that you would like to add, Carlin?
Yeah, could you kind of describe a little bit more what we mean by percentage of hands on chest by month?
Yeah, absolutely. This shows the percentage of calls that came in as CARD 9, where CPR was initiated while the caller was on the phone and using ProQA. And we understand that there are going to be some callers that either don't want to do CPR or where CPR isn't appropriate and therefore isn't done. And this just shows the percentage of time that CPR was actually done on the system.
That makes sense. Thank you.
So the next card that we have is the pandemic epidemic outbreak, or CARD 36. So I can see here again for the time period I have selected, there were 447 cases. And I can get here a breakdown of age of the patient. And again, I can click on this and show as a different type of chart or export this out or expand it if I would like. I can also click on the little button here, on the hover over the little question mark here to get more information on what each one of these widgets does and what it represents. I can get a breakdown of gender. I can get a breakdown also of the top complaints that they initially called in for. So I can see here difficulty breathing. And if you get these ellipses, because it would be too long to show, you can hover over each one and it will show you what that label shows. You can also see the number of, or the percentages of difficulty speaking between breaths, high risk patients, whether the patient was completely alert, whether they reported having a fever, a new or recent cough, and then a distribution of determinant levels. And again, we also have a breakdown of all of the Card36, so I can see what the count, the percentage, and all systems percentage is. And I can see here the call volume by month. And again, because this is a by month, I can change that grouping here accordingly. Anything you'd like to add, Carlin?
No, looks good, Scott. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, Scott and Carlin here. Today we're going to be going over the EIDS data in Academy Analytics. So the EIDS is the Emerging Infectious Disease Surveillance, and that is a series of questions that were added to ProQA as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So in the questions that are asked in the EIDS tool, we have them broken down in here into 3 buckets. The first one that we have is the EIDS affirmative calls, the EIDS negative answers greater than 15 seconds, and the EIDS negative answers less than 15 seconds. So let's dive into each one. First, the EIDS affirmative calls are the number of calls where a question was answered in the affirmative. So some of the questions could be if the patient has been having a fever lately. If they answered yes, then that would be a trigger for the EIDS surveillance, and it would be triggered here as an affirmative call. So you can see here the number of calls in the time frame that we have selected, and there's a little scroll bar here where there was an affirmative answer given on the EIDS questions. The next bucket is the EIDS negative answers greater than 15 seconds. So the reason that we have this broken down into greater than 15 seconds and less than 15 seconds is we've decided that 15 seconds would be the minimum amount of time needed for a telecommunicator to ask and receive answers for all of the questions in the EIDS page. So if it took less than 15 seconds, it's likely that not all of the questions were asked, and so it just flags those or puts those off to the side just to let you know that even though none of the questions were answered in the affirmative, it was likely that not all of the questions were asked on those particular calls. So for the greater than 15 seconds, I have a list here. And then down at the very bottom of the page, I have a widget that breaks it out into the number of calls where it was positive, negative less than 15 seconds, negative greater than 15 seconds, and then my total number of calls. So if I wanted to remove the negative greater than, the negative less than 15 seconds, I can just click on that and it removes it completely from my system. Any questions or anything that I missed, Carlin? Is there anything that...
No, super overview. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, Scott and Carlin here. We're going to be going over the filters in Academy Analytics. So up here on the very top right of the Academy Analytics screen, you can see I've got a filters option. When I open that, I can see a list of filters that I have here. You can see Scott Save Filter. I have really, really original naming conventions for my filters, as you can see here. And I'll go over in just a moment how you can save your own filters. So first, you can filter by discipline, EMD, EFD, and it looks like this particular agency does not use EPD, but if I only wanted to see EPD calls, I could double click, or I'm sorry, single click on EFD to remove that. And now if I say apply filters, all of my information here will be just showing the EMS calls. So if I wanted to bring EFD back in and remove EMD, I could do that as well. I can also select by protocol, and you can see here, this is all protocols, and then I have it broken down, or I can see that it's broken down by EMS. And as I continue scrolling, I can see where I start getting into the fire protocols. So I can choose if I wanted to, which protocol I wanted to filter by. If I wanted to only see abdominal pains and problems, I could do that. And then now all of the information throughout Academy Analytics is only with regard to this one particular card. Similarly, I can choose the determinant level, my alphas, bravos, charlies, deltas, echoes, and omegas. Or I can select by telecommunicator. So if I have a particular telecommunicator and I just want to look and see what they look like in terms of their performance in ProQA, I could select that, and then all of the information throughout Academy Analytics would be with regard to that one telecommunicator. One of the more powerful filters that we have here is the Sunday through Saturday, or the date range selector. I know this looks really busy, but it is actually very powerful. If I only wanted to look at a particular shift, for example, so if I wanted to look at my daytime shifts that happen to go Monday through Friday, I could click on the 8 o'clock hour, go down to the 1700 hour, shift and click so that I multi-select all of those, and I can do that Monday through Friday. And then now when I apply that filter, all of the data in Academy Analytics will be specific just toward that time range for those days of the week. It won't show me anything else for Sunday or Saturday. So if I just wanted to do a real quick analysis of a particular shift of dispatchers or telecommunicators, I could do that. And then if I wanted to, I could come down here, and next to the Apply Filters button, there's a little down arrow. I can save this filter. And so I could say daytime filter. Again, I have real original naming conventions here. So I can click on Save. And now when I come into filters, daytime filter is one of the options that I have to choose from in my drop down. So it's easy for me to recreate and get to. I can click Apply, and then all of the information throughout Academy Analytics is only for Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Carlin, is there anything I'm forgetting or anything that you'd like to add with regard to filters?
No, I can't wait to get in and start playing with those filters. That gives you a lot of functionality. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Carlin.